Welcome, everyone, to another faculty interview for the Kentucky Christian Writers Conference 2026. I can't believe it's here, but my name is Sarah R. Turnquist, and I'm serving as this year's coordinator.
Hi, everyone, and I'm Cindy Smith, and I am serving as the faculty chair. This is my third year doing it for KCWC, and it is just such a thrill to get to talk to all these different workshop facilitators. And today I'm really excited to introduce you to Annette Marie Griffin. Annette, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and maybe what you like to do for fun.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Let's see where I'm from. I was born in North Carolina. We immediately moved to Alabama after that, but I moved to Texas when I was a freshman in high school, which was many years ago. And so I'm a Texas girl now.
Yeah. I understand that. I'm originally from Texas. And so even though I love living in Tennessee, people are, where are you from? I'm from Texas.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll get right into it. What kind of writing do you enjoy most?
Well, I think, it's interesting because I started out writing fiction and I never had much of a desire to write nonfiction. It didn't seem as fun to me. But that's where God seemed to open up the doors. And I mean, when I say that, I mean, he literally opened the doors. I don't think I would have knocked on those doors, but he opened them and kind of ushered me through there because that's what he had planned for me. And I really have developed a love for writing nonfiction over the last couple of years. I write lots of articles for online Christian resources, and I am even writing a nonfiction women's Christian living book right now that will be released sometime the end of next year. And so I have really developed a love for that. I think it comes naturally because I started writing curriculum for children and I love research. And so those nonfiction and research tend to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
That's true.
I was not looking. I've always liked to write do journaling, and I've like written little things here and there, but it wasn't until probably 5 years ago that I'm like, oh, I could really do this. And thankfully I have a really strong mentor in Sarah. She's an amazing mentor. But I see from your bio that you began your writing journey by writing curriculum for local churches. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. I started out as a children's ministry director when my oldest kids were very young, and it kind of snowballed from there as I spent years in ministry and would look over and review curriculum for children's church and for Sunday school and for VBS. The Sunday school area was kind of lacking in my for what I wanted for our group of kids. And so I began just kind of piecing together some things at first. And then I thought, I'm just going to write it because I know what I want and I can put it on paper. And I kind of field tested it that way, and it seemed to really take off. The kids were really relating to the story-driven curriculum I had developed, and so other churches became interested in it, and it kind of snowballed from there. And I think a lot of writers, especially new authors who are really wanting to get their foot in the door, I always recommend to them to start where you're at. See where the need is in your community, because God put you there for that reason, and he gave us the talents and skills we have to use for where we're at, and then he can grow it from there, and that's what he did in my case.
Yeah, that's
wonderful.
awesome.
I love that heart for the children you were ministering to and the families and the local churches. And I love that piece of advice because it really is true that God calls us to bloom where he's planted us. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we are excited to have you be a part of our faculty this year. And so your workshops will be, for those listeners out there, Annette will be teaching us about how to broaden your online audience by using best SEO, AEO, and GEO practices to take truth to the world. She has another class on author care, which I'm very interested in, practical tips for nurturing body, mind, and spirit while writing for him. And then her third workshop is how to write truth-filled articles readers will love and editors will buy.
Yeah. Do you? We don't want you to give away any secrets because we want people to come to the conference. But are your workshops more instructional, interactive, inspirational, or kind of a combination of those?
I would say they're a combination of instructional and inspirational. I think at the end of each class, attendees will have a solid idea of what they can take from that class and use in their own writing. And I hope that it will be inspirational in the fact that I weave a lot of I weave some scripture into it. I weave where God has brought me using these techniques. It's basically me just sharing with the audience what God has shown me in hopes that they can use that as a stepping stone to get where God is calling them to be.
That's
Mm.
awesome. I love that because I think it's one thing to go and listen to people share information, but to be able to give them something practical that they can take away with them and put into practice is so important. I think that is what will help them become better writers. And like you said, it will help them do what God has called them to do better.
Yeah, absolutely. So of your 3 workshops, which would you recommend would be best for our newbie writers, and which would be better for the advanced writer?
I think for sure the middle workshop about how to nurture your body, mind, and spirit while writing, I think that's for everybody. I think no matter if you're a newbie or if you've been writing for a really long time, I think we all need to we get so busy, we get on that hamster wheel running. And I think there's times when God has to get our attention and say, stop for a minute, go back to the one needful thing, go back to taking care of this vessel that I'm using to accomplish my purpose. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to last for very long. There's only so long you can run on that hamster wheel. And so I would say that's for everybody. And then if you're interested in writing articles for a Christian resources, I think that third one is a 101 class about how to get your foot into writing articles, how to do it, where to pitch your ideas, how to make money doing it, and how to mainly put truth in those articles that then can go to a very broad audience of people. Whereas if we write books, it's a much smaller audience. And I would say that's not only for nonfiction writers, because there's a segment that I begin in that class. It's kind of my pitch to even fiction writers to say, hey, for such a time as this, we need to be getting truth out to the world, because our audience isn't seeking the church or spiritual resources to find answers to life's deepest questions anymore. They're going to Google. And so if we want to it's our mission field as writers. And so I call it our commissionary audience versus our primary or secondary. And so,
I love that.
So I would say that's not even for just nonfiction writers. I would love to have some people who think that they never would want to go into nonfiction writing come to that class to kind of have a platform to show them that maybe God is calling you into that as well, like He did me.
Yeah. I have a Substack account, and so I do try twice a month. Because I do write fiction, but I do try to write something devotional that I put on Substack twice a month. Yeah. So that's that. I think that's awesome. Yeah. Do you have for your nurturing, the practical tips for nurturing your mind, body, and spirit? Is there one practice that you do that really helps you to stay focused and not get all stressed out as you're writing?
I'm a firm believer in prayer, and starting everything with prayer and bathing everything in prayer and finishing up with prayer. And so I think for me, and really all of these principles that I'll be covering, God is still working on me on those things. I have not perfected it. I'm basically sharing what the goal and then hopefully we can all surround each other and hold each other accountable, because that's a big component of that too. But as far as what is the most important thing for me, I think the prayer would be it. Really just focusing in and making that one needful thing, like I mentioned earlier, that top priority, because everything else is the overflow of that.
Absolutely.
We can't muster it up on our own. It has to come to us, and we just, overflow it after.
Yeah.
With them.
Yeah. I agree that that's even important in fiction. I think a lot of fiction writers don't think about that, but it is a partnership that we have with the Holy Spirit and with the Lord working through us to tell these stories that will draw people, that will show people what it's like to live in a faithful way, seeking the Lord through the hardships that we put them through in our novels.
Exactly.
But we need to invite him in, because you're so right. Even in fiction, it's not what I put into the story. The things that will have the most impact are what God puts in the story as he's working through me as I write. I think that's really, really good. Well,
Sarah,
go ahead, Cindy.
Well, I wanted to add on to what you said, that, Sarah did a class by Ted Decker, and I'm not going to get the quote right. So if I don't, Sarah, just not correct me, but fix it for me. He talked about how we as writers, especially of fiction writers, we can include in our story how God is sanctifying us. Our characters can struggle with the same things that we struggle with, and we can use that to show others how they can turn to the Lord to learn patience or self-control or that kind of thing. So I love that. That prayer is something that I'm starting to do more of, is before I start writing, pray and say, Lord, help me to write what you want me to write. And then whoever reads these words, help them to grow in their understanding and knowledge of you.
Some of the most spiritual takeaways that have made the deepest impact on my life and my reading have been fiction books. And so definitely fiction has a way of opening up your heart to receive a truth that you wouldn't otherwise receive, which is why I did the story-driven curricula for a children's church. And so I think it's the same for adults. I think that we connect with stories. I think Jesus knew that, and that's why he told so many stories and gave so many parables. And so I have a high respect for fiction, and that's really what I read the most of these days. I mean, I think it's half and half, but I love fiction, and I'm an avid reader. So
Wonderful. Well, the last couple of questions that we have are: what is your favorite thing about writers' conferences in general, and why should someone sign up for a writers' conference?
In every class that I teach, I strongly recommend that anyone who is pursuing a writing career absolutely go to conferences. That's where God really, he had to kind of force me to go. My husband bought me, when he saw me start writing, he bought me a registration for a conference as a Christmas gift once. And it was one of those, oh, how thoughtful, how beautiful. And then terror, striking my heart that I would, me, not a real writer, having to go and be with these real writers. I think we all have that imposter syndrome, especially in the beginning, but really kind of throughout. But when I went there to that first conference, God met me there, and he surrounded me with people who became instrumental in those steps he wanted me to take going forward. And that is my favorite part of conferences. I love the classes. I love the teaching. I love learning under mentors that I highly respect and regard. But my very favorite part is just that networking opportunity, being with other children of God, being with other people who have a like-minded pursuit in the kingdom to advance God's kingdom through our words, and speaking that same language as they do, because not everybody speaks that writerly language. I can share with my husband victories and celebrations and milestones in my writing, and he's like, oh, that's great, that's wonderful. He's very supportive, but he doesn't get it, but other writers do. They speak our language, and so to be with them is just a very energizing moment in time that I cherish every single conference that I've ever been to. And I've met new people, and really God has used those people in my life to advance my writing career.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I've started going to more writing conferences. KCWC was my first one, and I felt so welcomed and like a part of the group, even from the planning team. And that's how I ended up on the planning team, because I'm like, hey, if you need help, I'm there. But now that I'm going to others, I'm starting to like see the same people, and I'm making friendships. And then last year we hosted a meal for all of the faculty the night before it started. And, I did not realize how faculty will start, like they know each other because they've taught at other conferences together. And it's just, the community is just beautiful in these writers' conferences.
Yeah. And like you said, Annette, you never know where a connection that you make at a writers' conference will go, what opportunities it will provide you. But more than that, we as Christians are brothers and sisters in Christ. And so those relationships that we form at writers' conferences will be everlasting, eternal
Amen.
relationships. And so not only can we encourage and edify and help educate each other, we are building something that will withstand time. And I think that's a beautiful thing about Christian writers' conferences and the networking there. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Annette, for being with us today and for sharing a little bit about yourself and about the classes that you're going to be teaching. I am very excited for all of your classes, but especially that one on nurturing your body, mind, and spirit. I will absolutely be attending that class. But anyways, we look forward to seeing you at Kentucky Christian Writers Conference. And that's not just for Annette, that's for all of you out there watching this YouTube video. We will absolutely put in the description how you can register, how you can find out more about Kentucky Christian Writers Conference, and how you can find out more about Annette as well. So thank you so much, and we will see you there.